Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 134 of Screw the Commute podcast. We got a great guest. I've known her for a long time. It's Maryann Ehmann, and she was a prosecuting attorney and a ministry leader. Now, you don't see that combo very often, I got to tell you. So we're going to hear some great stuff from her in a minute. Now, the last episode, and also, by the way, you might hear some birds chirping in the background. So I'm fine with that as long as they don't sue me for copyright infringement for their songs or something. Of course, she's an attorney, so she ought to be able to help me. All right, anyway, last episode was 133, ad tracking and split testing. Now, this was my Monday training where I told you the way smart marketers get rich. They track what's working and eliminate what's not. And this is an absolute must listen. And combine it with episode 127, which was on paid traffic, and you'll have the blueprint to turn on and off traffic at will and how to eliminate worthless traffic and only keep people that spend money. How about that? Hey, and everybody, I've got a big freebie to thank you for listening to the podcast. It's my $27 ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this ebook has saved me over 7 million keystrokes. And I think I also have another nice little gift there for you, a surprise for you at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. And our podcast app's in the iTunes store. You can go to screwthecommute.com/app where we have complete instructions on how to use it. And it's got all kinds of fancy features you'll love to have on your cell phone or tablet. And also, please tell your friends about this, or at least pick somebody that you know is interested in business and tell them about it. Get them to subscribe over at screwthecommute.com. It's really going to help them out, and it'll help the show out. So thank you very much. All right, today's sponsor is the Distance Learning School, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. Now, did you ever wonder how tens of thousands of people like me sit home, earn legitimate money, and don't have to listen to a boss or get up and fight traffic every day? Well, it's because we have legitimate online businesses. And the reason I keep emphasizing the word legitimate is because there are tons of scams out there in the online world. And that's why I started the only licensed and dedicated internet marketing distance learning school in the country, imtcva.org. And here you go again. You can have a legitimate lifestyle business in as little as 6 months when you attend that school. Check it out. We'll have the link in the show notes like we always do. This is episode 134, so anytime you hear Maryann or somebody tell us something that's going to be in the show notes, you just go to screwthecommute.com/ and then the episode number, in this case, 134. Oh, and one other thing. We just got approved by the Department of Defense for their scholarship program for military spouses. So if you know any military spouses who want to work out of their home from wherever they're deployed, please send them my way. All right, let's get to the main event. Maryann Ehmann is here. She's a former prosecuting attorney. Listen to all these things: financial advisor and ministry leader. Maryann combines her diverse expertise and life experience to bring you magnificent love coaching. Well, I have to ask her about that. She was recently invited into the Forbes Coaches Council, and Maryann is passionate about helping spiritually inclined business owners bust through their limiting patterns so they can fulfill their dreams and soar in their calling. Maryann, are you ready to screw the commute? I don't want Gene coming after me. He was a firearms instructor. I don't want him after me.
Oh, gosh. I screwed the commute a long time ago, Tom.
You sure did. So tell everybody what you're doing. Boy, we go way back. I remember you got a free computer because of me one time. Remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah,
I tripped over your dishwasher door.
Right.
And I went flying and my computer landed on the
I
floor.
felt so bad until I heard you got a free brand new computer out of it. And I said, I'm going to try that.
It was worth it.
Yeah. So tell everybody what you're doing lately, then we'll take you back.
Sure. Well, I am a business coach, mindset coach, and here's the elevator speech. I help big dreaming, miracle believing, action-oriented entrepreneurs and professionals build their dream lifestyle and business. So most of these people are people of faith. We are talking about spiritually inclined. But in spite of that, something is still standing in their way, frustrating them, and then getting them to the point. They get to the point where they're done with the struggle. That's it.
Right. And you've had your share of struggles. Your husband, my friend, Gene, had some medical problems. And boy, I think your spirituality helped you through that, right?
Yeah, that was a biggie. When I first met you, I was struggling then too. But by the time, probably about 2015, my business was very stable and rocking it. And I was doing a lot of, traveling around. In fact, I was going from Rochester, New York to California every 2 months. For 5 years, I did that. Yes. Racked up a lot of miles on that, but it was a fun business, but it was getting tiring. And right around that time, I was starting to think, what's my next step? How can I make this easier for me? And then my husband was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, boy.
So the diagnosis actually did not seem to come at a very good time, not like a diagnosis for cancer ever does.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was saying
right?
That is a good time for that.
Yeah. But as it pertains to my business and how I was going to take care of him 24/7 in the way I wanted to and keep up the travel and all the speaking and the networking, I hit a wall. I had no idea how that was even possible.
Wow.
Well, now go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say a while back, I had a major disaster. It wasn't brain cancer by any means, but I was thinking about doing a program called The Nightmare of the Entrepreneur, because we all love this, quote, lifestyle, beautiful, work from anywhere and do all this stuff with your feet up at the beach. But there are some serious downtimes, and you went through one. How did you make it through that?
Well, first of all, I want to say, screw the commute is I was so glad that I had done that, because I would never have been able to take care of him like I did if I had a job. And many times the two of us were just like so grateful that we were able to. We were so grateful that I worked at home, and it forced us actually to figure out different ways for me to do business. Because, traveling can be very expensive, and lots of networking, all of that going out of your home when you want to work at home can be not the ideal lifestyle. So learning how to cope and grow my business while taking care of him actually turned out to be a great lesson. So I had this meltdown, and this was horrible, because Gene had just had his surgery and it was like nothing short of miraculous. So there was everything to be grateful for, even though we had this long road ahead of us. So we had this long road ahead of us for, treatments, et cetera, et cetera. And, oddly enough, because of our faith, we really didn't have, especially Gene, we didn't have any doubt that he was going to be healed, even though, 4-stage cancer does not look good, especially melanoma cancer. But for some reason, we had absolute faith and conviction that he was going to be fine. What I was concerned about was, how was I going to continue to support us and take care of him? So I went to bed that night feeling completely distraught, very lost. I felt like a fraud, actually, because my business was called Create Your Magnificent Life.
Oh, wow.
And nothing seemed magnificent at that moment, and I couldn't tell anybody. I felt like, I think that happens to entrepreneurs sometimes. We're so busy marketing and we present ourselves with the best possible image, and inside we could be dying and we don't want people to know, which is really just a lie. We don't need to be that protective. We really don't. In fact, it's better if we're not. But I didn't know that at the time. And I was really believing a bunch of lies. And the lies were, I'm all alone. There's nobody there for me. I can't do this. I don't even know where the F God is. And it just was, it was crushing. So I went to bed that night, not able to tell anybody about this. And I actually woke up and I heard a voice saying, and this may sound kind of weird to some people, but I actually heard a voice going, "Get back to love, Maryann." And at the moment, I didn't know what that meant. Get
So
back.
I thought it was said, call Tom.
Call Tom. Well, you know what? Actually, God did that, Tom.
Is that
He
right?
called you. He called you for us. Because this is, you don't know this, but this was so bizarre. After I heard Get Back to Love, I got up, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I went and sat down and I started journaling. And what I journaled about was just all these memories of all these wonderful things that had happened to us in life, where people had been there for us. And I don't know how much you believe in energy and, frequencies and all of that.
Mhm.
But as my energy started to raise and joy started to bubble over, and I just felt like $1,000,000. It didn't matter how much money I had in the bank. I felt like $1,000,000. I felt like I could do this. And within an hour, I get a text message from a friend saying, "Look what I got in the email." And it was a message from you. And the message was that you had started a GoFundMe campaign for my husband. Now, as grateful as I should have been, I was furious. I was so
I
mad.
outed you, didn't I?
Oh my, yes, you did. And it was actually the best thing that happened. But I went to Gene and I said, "Do you know about this? Who gave him the right to do this?" I mean, here you are being so kind and so generous and putting my husband's situation out there. And I'll tell you, it was such a blessing for us, such a blessing for us. But at that moment, I had to make a choice.
You had to make a choice: cuss Tom out or take the money.
Yeah, be a receiver, a grateful receiver, or get stuck in pride.
Oh boy,
because that's what it is. It's just
I didn't
pride.
realize you were mad at me. Whoa.
I know. I was, but it only lasted about 5 seconds.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Just 5
I can
seconds.
handle that.
Yeah. But that was instrumental for us. It gave us a little cushion for me to figure out our next move, And the outpouring from your folks was amazing. Talk about love. It was very humbling and one of the most precious moments of our life, honestly.
That's really good. So basically, you went to bed in a funk, and something happened that night that switched you around.
Yeah.
That message that you got.
Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning. Get back to love. Now, the interesting thing is, this has been now almost 3 years now. It was almost 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so the energy of love was what allowed me to be in peace and to wait on my husband in any way possible, because what came up over the next months was countless nights in the hospital,
right?
Sleeping on those beds
Right.
and taking care of him and doctor visits and one thing after the other. And my business actually flourished during that time.
Wow.
And I didn't go out and do one speaking engagement, nothing. And so the GoFundMe campaign got me over this big hump, and then business started coming in, referrals started coming in, and I was able to do that. Now, ever since then, I've kind of wondered, does love really work in business? And that had been my thing beforehand, but now it really was tested. Can love really work in business? Can love work in the marketplace? Can we, besides just the passion that we have for what we do, but when we love ourselves, when we love our clients, when we love the marketplace, when we love our work, does that actually have a powerful effect on our businesses? Can our businesses actually grow from that? And I found out over the last 3 years that nothing has grown my business better than that.
Well, I think you got something there up to the point where you get charged with sexual harassment. Then it doesn't work anymore.
You had to throw that in, didn't you?
I can't help myself. Me.
Well, that's why we work at home.
Right. So all right. So those are really big concepts there. But did you do anything, practical, down to earth, change the way you behaved during that, after you had that revelation that love could do it, but you still had to go do the business while you were taking care of Jean in the hospital?
Well, that's a really good point because, I think our feelings always have an effect on our actions.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're feeling in a state of peace and joy and confidence, it's much easier to take action. And I know a lot of times when we first start business, we don't have that sense of love, joy, peace. We usually have fear, doubt, insecurities of all kinds, right? So I think that's part of the reason why my business did flourish, because when I did anything, I did it in the energy and in the framework of love. So what did I do? I started having classes. I did classes because that's what I could do at home. I did a class called If I Don't Worry, What Do I Do Instead?
I mean, do people come in, or you just did it over Skype or Zoom or something?
Over Zoom.
Okay.
Yep, I did it over Zoom. I took out a couple of old programs that I had done that were still, relevant, and I offered that to my list. So that money came in through that way. I put out there some more free coaching sessions for people, into my Facebook audience, into my list. And certain people took advantage of that. Like I made some specials.
All right, now there's a good point there. You rehashed, or you brought back some older stuff, right? But see,
Yes.
people need to pay attention to that one point, because you get new people on your list all the time that never heard of that old program. So as long as it's not totally obsolete, it's, don't be afraid to bring stuff back out, because a lot of people never even heard of it before. They just got on your list.
Exactly.
Now, did you take a laptop or anything to the hospital? Do anything from the hospital?
I tried it a couple of times, but actually it didn't work out very well.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband really needed me to pay attention when I was there, because there were, a couple of mishaps, which could have resulted in his death.
Geez.
Yeah, that happens.
So you saved his life. You're a little angel.
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
You saved his life a couple times.
Well, yeah. At one point,
Wow.
they were going to administer his blood pressure got very low, and they were going to administer high blood pressure medication. And I was like, what?
That would have done him in a hurry.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, it's really, that's a whole nother subject matter. But when our loved ones are in the hospital, they can't fend for themselves oftentimes. And so if you're an advocate, you have to really pay attention. People are great. Nurses are great. Staff is great. But sometimes they mess up. They get things wrong.
That's one of the biggest way people die, is mistakes from medications and stuff. And so had I done that for my spouse, man, I would milk that the rest of their life. They'd owe me.
Well, I suppose if the rest of your life with your spouse sucked, you'd have to milk them. But,
Yeah.
but I'm a really good wife. So
Yeah, that's true. So now Gene's back, and we're going to talk to Gene here in an episode or so, and he's back full swing working it again, right?
yeah, I mean, I'll let him tell his story about where that is. He's got some things coming up and stuff, but quite frankly, the immunotherapy treatments did take a toll on him. And so his energy level and it's just actually after all this time, it's really just coming back.
Okay, well,
yeah,
at least it's coming back. That's good.
It's coming back. Yeah.
All right. So what kind of lessons would you give people from having gone through that experience, this entrepreneurial? Well, I'm hoping that you inspire them to be ready for this before something bad happens. That's what I hope from my whole podcast, and everything I do gets them to create these entities online, so that if something does happen, they're ready for it. You're not scrambling at the last minute. But what would you tell somebody that's going through something like this, or might go something like this? What should they do?
Well, I would say the same thing you're saying. We never expected this to happen. Both of us have been in stellar health. And in 35 years of marriage, I've never seen my husband in the hospital.
Right.
Exactly. So you don't know when things are like this are going to happen. You don't want to anticipate it, but there's nothing like having a home-based business, especially work you can do over the internet, that makes something like this so doable. So yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing, though, is to really master your craft. When I first started, I had been coaching in the church communities for like 20 years, but I hadn't fully mastered it. I didn't take it seriously. And so, my first few years of coaching professionally and getting paid for it, I really delved into mastering this craft. I got better and better at it. I was always looking to improve. So mastering your craft, whatever it is going to keep you, it's going to push you to the top of the heap of the pile,
Yep.
And so I know that those years that I spent getting out there, those years I spent, pouring into people's lives, doing the work that I was doing, that all were like major seeds I planted, so that when I fell into this situation, there was harvest all over the place.
Yep.
In my list, on my Facebook community, wherever I went, that just all came back to me. And I think it makes it seem like it's just miraculous and people just come out of nowhere and you just get business. And that's been the case. But it really isn't out of nowhere. There is a lot of seeds you have to plant, you have to cultivate in the beginning years. And be patient with yourself. When there's a tendency when we first start all of this, no matter how successful you were in a prior career, there's a tendency to judge yourself. There's a tendency to just focus in on how inadequate you are and get overwhelmed and panicked. And a lot of people will quit because of that. And so I say, don't quit. Pour into it. Keep the faith. Keep it going. If what you want to do is important to the world, then you need to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Get help when you need help. Invest in your craft. Invest in your marketing. Invest in support. That is huge.
Yeah, and don't get mad at Tom if he helps you out a little bit. Yeah.
Never get mad at Tom for anything.
So let's go back.
Tom needs a lot of love.
Yeah, there you go. So let's go back. I mean, you being a prosecutor, see, it's hard for me to see that because any interactions I've had and seen with prosecutors, they're just mean pit bulls that political, just want to get a 100% conviction ratio. Doesn't matter who gets screwed over. That's what I say. That's what the world thinks about prosecutors. It's just that you don't fit that mold. Is that why you got out of it? Or, what happened? How did you go from being a prosecutor to a business owner?
Well, I never wanted to be a prosecutor to begin with.
Oh, well, there you go. How did that happen?
Yeah, I was a tax law major in law school.
Oh.
That was my love, was taxes, believe it or not. Well, things happen. I had a tennis partner in law school who happened to work for the chief state attorney of the state. And the chief state attorney is the highest attorney, higher than attorney general in the state of Connecticut.
Connecticut, okay.
Yeah. And so I saw on the placement bulletin board his name, and he says, that they were interviewing for an intern. And so I'm like, well, let me give him a call and just see what it is. Mind you, criminal law and criminal procedure were one of my lowest grades in law school.
Oh, well, perfect to be a prosecutor then, right?
Exactly. So I went down there and met my friend. I mean, they granted me an interview, went down there, met my friend. I'm sitting there across the desk from the chief state attorney. And this is a moment I will never, ever forget. He's looking at my resume and my transcripts. And you can see my low grades in criminal law and procedure. And he's looking at me, and then he's looking at the paper, and looks back at me, and he says, well, let me tell you what I think of this. And then he takes out his lighter, and he lights my resume on fire. And just stares at me while the thing is going up in flames. I don't know if anybody's ever been in an interview like that before.
I love it.
I think you would. I can see you doing that. I can see you playing with somebody's mind to such an extent. Mm-hmm.
So then what happened?
I burst out laughing. I threw my head back. I burst out laughing. I couldn't even believe the audacity. And then he said, get out. I don't ever want to see your face again.
Wow.
Yeah. So I left the room. I closed the door. And in the hallway, I burst out crying like I was 5 years old.
Oh, man.
And my friend comes along and he's like playing, he always played with his tie, and he's playing with his tie, and I'm sobbing my eyes out. And I'm like, why would I ever want to work with an asshole like this? Excuse me. Right. And so he says, stay here, don't go anywhere, don't go anywhere. You know, I need to go and talk to him. So I hear them arguing in the room. I can't quite hear what they're saying. And then they call me back in, and like my head's hanging down, you know, and I sit down like I'm 5, and I just got in trouble with the principal. And the chief says, against my better judgment, I'm going to hire you. But you better work twice as hard, twice as long, and twice as much as any guy, honey. And if you don't like it, there's the door.
Oh, man.
Would anybody get away with that today?
No, you'd have a good lawsuit against them.
Uh-huh. And I was just so happy to play in the game that I said, anything you want, anything you want.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a different era, right?
Yes, different era. I was actually the second woman ever hired in the state as a prosecutor.
Wow. So I don't want to go into the fact about what I was talking about. I hope you didn't just go for a conviction percentage and screw over poor victims, because that's, like you said, that's what the reputation of prosecutors are in the world, and I can't just picture you doing that.
Well, on the other side of the coin, when you have a hallway of people who have been accused of things lining up in front of you and their defense attorneys, you really don't know. Sometimes I'd have to handle, anywhere from 50 to 100 cases a day. And you don't know.
So, yeah, I get that too.
You don't know who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. And it really was that over a period of years that was so soul-sucking.
Right.
And I started to get cynical. I started to feel my heart ache. And I was... talk about spirituality. I was an atheist at the time.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I was an atheist at the time, and I went into a depression because I couldn't leave this job that had so much power and prestige and, all the things that I had kind of been wanting,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm dying on the inside, and I was so lonely because also not many men wanted in Connecticut to date an Asian woman who was also a prosecuting lawyer,
I wasn't familiar with that, but I can see your point.
Not very sexy. So it was between all that I hit a depression, and then that just set me up for this massive spiritual experience that I had that changed my life. And I was filled with love. That's right, get back to love. Mm-hmm. And that love inside caused me to have the courage to pursue my true goal, which was financial planning, tax planning. And then I became a financial planner and eventually went into corporate where I was a staff attorney designing financial plans. But what happened there, and this is why I actually left it all, there was a new program called Fee for Service, which is not new anymore. But at the time, it was a new program that I was helping to install in Newport Beach, California. And what happened was they weren't making as money as quickly as that they had been. And
they weren't what?
They weren't making as much money quickly as they had been when it was only product sales. Now they had more professionalism, but it wasn't bringing in the cash as fast. And so the field officers decided to steal the book of business and open up shop someplace else, and home office got a hold of it. And when that happened, everybody came down, marshals came down, the shop got closed for temporarily, they got ousted. And that whole experience, and I had to tell the truth about what was really going on. That whole experience showed me how when people are afraid, they do things that they maybe not normally do. Greed takes over. And I just didn't know how to deal with all of it. And within a couple of years, I guess it was, because they promoted me, I actually left it all and I went and became a business consultant. And I had my own small group of clients that I did financial planning for.
Mm-hmm. So
And that's how,
your
that was my
transition.
exit. That was my transition.
Now, did you save up money to make the jump, or did you just drop one day, just quit? Well, how did you make the transition to be in your own business?
I had a little bit of savings, but Gina and I had just gotten married, and I didn't really have a lot to work with. However, because of my reputation, I was able to get a handful of clients that paid me more money than when I was in my job.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
Then
now that we fast forward all this time, and you've been through all of this stuff, what do you like best about working for yourself, and what's the worst part?
the best part is the flexibility. The best part is that you can actually make as much money as you want to make.
Mm-hmm.
You're only limited by your own belief system, actually, And
Do you help people with that stuff?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's actually my forte, because I work with a lot of people who really have big dreams and they get started on it. They're very smart people. A lot of them are actually very educated people, and they run into a wall, like many of the walls I've run into. And they may have all the strategies, like they go through a lot of different programs trying to increase their business, but what they lack is there's a mindset issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just don't do mindset like, let's talk about, just say your affirmations every day. I have a saying for affirmations. If you haven't done the deep work of getting rid of the lies you believe, affirmations are like poop in a box with a pretty bow on top.
Okay.
You can see that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can smell it.
So, yeah, exactly. No matter how pretty the picture looks, it stinks.
Mm-hmm.
So I do. I help people getting rid of the poop in the box and reestablishing actually whole new belief structures so that they are now congruent internally as well as externally with where they want to go. So I love that work. I love working with who I want to work with. I have an idea of who my dream ideal clients are, and I teach my clients how to find theirs. Mm-hmm. And when you work with dream clients, you don't work. Every day is like a rewarding adventure. And so I love that. I love getting paid for my craft, for doing the work I love to do. That's a wonderful thing. I love that anytime I can change my schedule and I can go away for a few days with my husband to the beach. We do that quite often. So the freedom, the flexibility, the unlimited finances, I get to work in an environment that I set up for myself that is pleasing to me. And I'd say there's nothing better than that.
So what's the worst part?
Well, right now, there's no worst part. The worst part was all the doubt you go through about whether you can do this.
Right.
That's the worst part. That's the torturous part.
When did you get over that?
Probably 2015. Yeah, I'd say I started in 2010. This took me about 4 years.
But it came back, right? When Jean got sick.
It slammed me when Jean got sick.
Right. Yeah, so it's not like you get over something as in the life of the entrepreneur, just everything is smooth sailing forever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But the cool thing is that every time you hit a wall, it's an opportunity to get over it, to learn something more and higher and better. There's always an upside to it. If you pursue the course, you stay the course. And, I lost hope. Quite frankly, I did. That night, I lost hope. I felt completely lost. But that's why, for me, any sense that anybody has of any kind of spirituality, something is going to rise to the top and carry you forward. And with that kind of faith, maybe it's just in yourself. And that's why I think faith, whether it's in God or the universe or yourself, we need faith to keep moving forward.
That's for sure. So what do you have for people? What can they buy from you? How can you work with them? You got any freebies for them? What's up?
I do. I do. Thanks for asking. One of the things that happened when my husband and I were going through the cancer experience was, except for the very beginning, with your help too, this sense of financial abundance was scary, except for that initial period. And I kind of thought, well, that's just a fluke. How many times are people going to give you money? How many times has that happened in your lifetime? What's going to happen going forward? Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to get back into fear and panic again. So I created this abundance tracker. And I decided that every single day I was going to keep track of every piece of abundance, whether it was financial, whether it was a gift, whether somebody sent a note or a compliment. I created a 30-day abundance tracker, and every 30 days I'd take out a new one. And so I decided, you know what, this could help people. People get into scarcity and lack so easily. If we had something that could keep our feet to the fire and we can keep our eyes focused on our abundant life, because it exists, our abundant life exists, then we're all going to be more up-leveled, upgraded in this life. So I created an abundance tracker, and then I decided to offer this to whoever. So you can get it at freeabundancetracker.com.
Okay, freeabundancetracker.com, and we'll have that in the show notes.
Yep. And not only will you download this abundance tracker, but I also provide an inspirational and instructional audio to tell you how to use it. On top of it, Tom, because I know how easy it is to lose sight, I have 30 days of emails I send out every day about reminding people to track their abundance, what to look for, some daily tip to keep you in the framework of abundance.
Very nice.
That comes with it too.
That's really, really nice. So you can get that at freeabundancetracker.com, and you get in Maryann's system, and she's got a lot of other ways you can work with her, and you'll lead them to all those things when they get over there, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't that excellent? So we got to take a brief sponsor message, and then when we come back, we're going to ask Maryann, what's a typical day look like for her in this entrepreneurial world? So, folks, our sponsor this week, again, it's me, the Internet Marketing Retreat and Joint Venture Program, where myself and my staff work with you for a year to either get you started in an internet business or to use the internet to take your existing business to the next level. So I'll tell you more about that at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. Of course, that'll be in the show notes. And I want to tell you a little bit about how I turned the internet marketing training world on its head around the year 2000. See, people like me were charging $50,000 or $100,000 up front to teach what we knew to business people who didn't want to learn it themselves. And I'm a small business advocate, and I knew many small businesses could never afford that kind of upfront money. So I made all those gurus mad by charging a relatively small entry fee to my program that also got a percentage of profits that was capped. So you weren't stuck with me forever. And so for me to get my big money, you had to make way bigger money. And people just loved that and flocked to this program. And 1,700 students later, we have no lawsuits, no refunds, and helped a heck of a lot of people over the last 20 years. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And we also throw in a scholarship, the only licensed independent distance learning school in the country, the imtcva.org, that you can either use yourself or gift to somebody. And that's a $19,000 scholarship. So check it out, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. All right, let's get back to our superstar. Maryann Ehmann is here with us, and she just gave away a great freebie. If you're just tuning in, you should check that out in the show notes. So Maryann, so what's a typical day look like for you?
Well, I get up fairly late compared to most people, 7:30.
Okay.
And I go into my office and I journal. I actually, before I look at emails or check text messages or anything like that, I journal. And I have gratitudes I journal about. It depends on what's coming up. I look at my calendar to see, what's happening for the day. And I bring those things into focus, and I set my intentions for those events coming up, and how I actually want to show up. I believe that our thoughts create a reality. So how do I want to show up for the day? And I write about that. After that, I usually have.
How long is that typically?
So probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, I do. I have my coffee. This is a lovely time. I listen to the birds. I just relax. I relax.
Yeah, and
Sometimes,
you're no longer in Connecticut. Tell her you're in Arizona now, right?
Yes, I'm in Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. Sometimes we do our early morning walks. A lot of times we do our walks in the afternoon, but as the weather gets hotter, we'll do our walks in the morning. Mm-hmm. But so I do that, and then I usually have appointments. So throughout the day, I have 3 to 4 appointments per day on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. On Mondays and Fridays, I try not to have any appointments. On Mondays and Fridays, I typically will do writing, marketing, thinking, pondering, like, where do I want to go next? I take a lot of time for that, and it makes when I actually go to do things a whole lot easier. So I have those. I teach Facebook classes, so twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
On Facebook, or you teach how to use Facebook?
I teach on Facebook.
On Facebook, right. Okay. Mm-hmm. So like Facebook Live or what?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Here's something too, some of your people may want to try. Last year, I wanted to see if I did Facebook Lives. I didn't like doing Facebook Lives. They made me nervous, and, I never knew what to say. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. So I challenged myself. So I started a group. It was a paid group. And I had about 25 to 30, 40 people in this group that signed up. And it was called 30 Days to Abundance. And I decided I was going to be in this Facebook group every single day and challenge myself.
Okay.
And I found I loved it. So since then, I have done several Facebook Live groups, teaching people various things. And so anybody who has problems, with a certain aspect, force yourself to do it a whole lot.
Right. Now, are these like 30-day one-shot deals and then something else, or are they ongoing after the 30 days?
No, it's 30 days. It's a one-shot deal. But now what I've done is, and it's not quite ready yet, but I've taken those videos of training, and I've made worksheets and workbooks out of them.
Okay.
And so that then is all going to go up into my membership site.
See, my dogs love that idea. They keep every time you say that, they say, "Oh, woof woof woof, we love that." Yeah, can you hear them?
I did.
Yeah. So I've done a Facebook group too. It's a Screw the Commute private Facebook group. So it's a paid group where but it's an ongoing thing. So it's just a little bit different. But either way, you can make money without even a website. Just think about that.
Absolutely.
You can just have a private Facebook group, tell people about it, and let Facebook take care of all the technology and stuff. And so that's just another way you can make money online. Yeah.
There's so many ways. It's amazing to me. There's so many ways. Yeah. And at all different price points too, because my coaching services are expensive, but this is a way for you to work with me and for them to work with you that is more affordable.
Exactly. And we're even on on-demand TV now. We're on Roku and Amazon Fire. And so there's just things just being made for us it's the best time in the world to be in business, to be in a small business, because you can do all this stuff. And when something disastrous happens, you can keep the money coming in. That's it happened to you. And, you're not the only one. Boy, it's a lot of people have saved their families because they were able to make money online in the face of disaster.
It definitely can be done. And I think Mondays and Fridays for me are those days that I investigate more of those kinds of things.
Yeah. So you sound like you're pretty organized. You got a good schedule going there. Or a lot of us, and myself included, we got the shiny object syndrome. Something will come in the email like, "Oh, that just blew 2 hours," because we run.
That's a really good point, because that happened to me a lot,
Mhm.
and I think when you're insecure and you're overwhelmed, you buy this and that because you're always looking for an answer. But I say to your people, stick with Tom.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
good advice for we call them screwballs that are on this thing. So Maryann, thanks so much for taking the time out, and I'm looking forward to talking to Gene, your lovely husband. And boy, this is not our typical fare. I think mostly it's tip, 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 tip that are just like simple, practical, no big thinking. And you're a much bigger thinker and a much bigger visionary than our typical fare here. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're going to go back to your birds now, right? And and I'll go back to my dogs.
I know it. He just like barked just now.
Yeah. That's Abby's really enjoying this. And then we want everybody to check out the freebie. What's that called again? Your freebie?
FreeAbundanceTracker.com.
FreeAbundanceTracker.com. And I tell you that before we leave, I just got to tell you this one story. I don't know if you heard about it or not, but there was a guy. I think his name was John. First name is John Kralik, and his life was down the tubes. He was going through a divorce. His career was going nowhere as an attorney. And so he said, man, and his kids hated him. He said, I got to turn this around somehow. So he just started writing a thank you letter to somebody every day. Didn't matter who.
Oh, I remember
You
that.
remember that?
Yes,
I bought a book
yes.
for everybody in the whole crowd when I heard the guy. And I think it's called 365 Thank Yous. And it turned his whole life around. So this is a similar thing, I think, that could, in only 30 days, it could turn your whole life around if you changed your thinking to abundance rather than protectionism and woe is me. So I think they should definitely go over and get this.
Well, and on top of it, it's 3 years later, and I still use the abundance tracker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to get into, as you say, woe is me and doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
There's a world out there that's abundant, and it's for ours for the taking.
It sure is. All right, well, say goodbye to the birds for me, and I will catch everybody on the next episode. Thanks so much, Maryann.
Thank you, Tom. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.